The first time she kissed me, she was drunk. Or at least, that's what she told herself the next morning when she woke up in my bed with her lipstick smudged across my jaw. But I knew the truth. Alcohol doesn't guide your lips so tenderly. It doesn't make you whisper someone's name like it's a prayer. Madison had always been very clear. I'm straight. She said it with the kind of conviction people use when they're convincing themselves, not others. She'd flirt with guys at parties, come home smelling of beer and cologne, and collapse on her bed like she had nothing left to give. But somehow, no matter how the night started, it always ended the same way, with her crawling into mine. I used to laugh it off. A roommate thing, a comfort thing, girls just being close. But somewhere between her sighs against my neck and the way she gripped my hand in the dark, it stopped being funny. It became dangerous. College in Boston wasn't what I thought it would be. I came here chasing a degree and the promise of freedom. What I didn't expect was Madison Hart, sophomore, communications major, serial heartbreaker. She was magnetic in that careless, chaotic way some people are. Professors excused her late work. Strangers wanted her number after a 5-minute conversation. Boys fell into her lap like coins into a wishing well. And me? I was just the quiet art major with charcoal under my nails and too many canvases stacked against the dorm wall. The one who watched. The one who wanted. Our room was small, suffocating sometimes. 2 twin beds, a single window, and the faint scent of coffee and paint mixing with her vanilla perfume. We learned to live inside each other's spaces, brushing shoulders at the desk, trading sweaters without asking. First she was just my roommate. Then she was my friend. Then she was something else. Something I couldn't name without setting fire to everything. The night everything changed started with a storm. Boston storms have a way of cracking the sky open like an egg, violent, restless. Madison stumbled in from a frat party, soaked to the bone, her mascara running in streaks. She looked like a beautiful disaster, half destroyed and laughing at her own ruin. They're all idiots, she muttered, dropping her heels to the floor. Every single one of them. I was sitting cross-legged on my bed, sketchbook in hand, pretending not to worry about how late it was. Who this time? I asked carefully. She waved a hand, collapsing onto her mattress. Some guy. Doesn't matter. They never matter. I wanted to ask then who does, but I bit my tongue. Instead, I watched as she rolled onto her side, her wet hair spilling across her pillow. For a moment she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, fragile in a way that almost broke me. Can I? She started, then stopped, her voice cracking. What? She turned her head, her eyes catching mine in the dim light. Can I sleep here tonight? It wasn't the first time she asked. It wouldn't be the last. Her weight dipped the mattress as she crawled under my blanket. She was freezing, her skin damp against mine. I froze, every nerve in my body alert, because this wasn't just a roommate seeking comfort. This was Madison pressing her face into my shoulder, her hand sliding over my stomach like it belonged there. You're warm, she whispered. My throat tightened. You're drunk. She laughed, soft and bitter. So what? And then she kissed me. It was clumsy at first, her lips trembling, her breath sharp with vodka. But then it deepened, softened, turned into something so heartbreakingly real that I forgot to breathe. She kissed me like she was drowning and I was air. When she finally pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. I don't like girls, she whispered, almost begging me to believe her. Okay, I whispered back, though my heart was tearing itself apart. Because even if she didn't like girls, she liked me enough to come back the next night. And the night after. It became our secret ritual. Madison would come home late, laugh too loudly, cry too hard, and then climb into my bed. Some nights we kissed until our lips were swollen. Other nights she just curled up against me, her fingers tangled in mine, as if holding on for dear life. By day she was the same Madison, flirty, wild, uncatchable. By night she was mine. And I let myself believe that maybe that was enough. But it wasn't. Because there was always this moment, right after she kissed me, when guilt would flicker across her face. She'd pull back like she'd crossed a line, like she needed to remind herself who she was supposed to be. And in those moments I felt like a secret she was ashamed of, a mistake she couldn't stop making. And I didn't know how much longer I could survive being both her safe place and her shame. The breaking point came 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Madison was sprawled across my bed, scrolling through her phone while I tried to paint. The room smelled like turpentine and her vanilla lotion. "Ethan asked me out again," she said casually, like she was talking about the weather. I kept my brush steady, though my hand wanted to tremble. "Are you going to say yes?" She smirked. "Maybe. He's cute." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the canvas across the room and demand to know why she kept touching me at night if she wanted boys in the daylight. Instead, I said nothing. "Don't look at me like that," she teased, rolling onto her stomach. "I'm not looking at you anyway," I muttered. "Yes, you are. Like you want to say something but you're too scared to." And maybe she was right. Maybe I'd been too scared for too long. "Madison," I said finally, my voice low. "What are we doing?" Her smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "This. Whatever this is." She sat up, crossing her arms defensively. "It's nothing. We're just close. Close." I repeated, my chest aching. "You kiss me. You sleep in my bed every night. That's not just close." Her eyes flashed with panic, then denial. "I told you I don't like girls." "Then stop acting like you do," I snapped, the words slipping out sharper than I meant. The silence that followed was suffocating. For the first time since I'd met her, Madison didn't crawl into my bed that night. And for the first time, I couldn't fall asleep without her. Madison avoided me the next day. It was subtle at first. She woke up earlier than usual, left the room without saying goodbye, came back late. I tried to convince myself she was just busy, but the hollow silence between us told another story. She didn't crawl into my bed that night. She didn't even look at me when she brushed her teeth. I thought maybe I'd feel relief, maybe distance would save me from this endless ache. Instead, it was worse. The absence of her weight next to mine made the room colder, emptier, like something essential had been stolen. By the third day, I cracked. She was sprawled at her desk, typing furiously at her laptop, earbuds in. I crossed the room and pulled one out before I could lose my nerve. "Madison." She glanced up, irritated. "What?" "We need to talk." Her jaw tightened. "About what?" "You know about what." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. For a moment, I thought she'd shut me out completely. But then she closed the laptop, leaning back in her chair with a sigh. "Okay," she said flatly. "Talk." The word hung between us like a trap. I sat on my bed, forcing myself to hold her gaze. "I can't do this anymore. Not if you're going to keep pretending it doesn't mean anything." She flinched just barely, but enough for me to notice. "I told you what it is. We're friends. That's all. Friends don't kiss like that." Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she looked away, fiddling with the hem of her sweater. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know what I'm doing, okay? I don't know what this means. And I don't want to know." The crack in her voice nearly undid me. But I couldn't keep letting her tear me open every night only to stitch me shut by morning. "You don't have to have all the answers," I said softly. "But you can't keep breaking me just because you're scared of yourself." Her head snapped up, anger flashing in her eyes. "You think this is easy for me? You think I wanted this?" I froze. The venom in her tone was sharp enough to cut, but beneath it, I heard the tremor of fear. She shoved her chair back, pacing the room. "I grew up in a house where my mom cried for weeks when my cousin came out. My dad still won't let her bring her girlfriend to Christmas. You think I'm ready to deal with that?" I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. "So what? You'll just keep lying? To them? To me? To yourself?" Her arms wrapped around herself like armor. "Maybe." The word was small. Broken. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The rain tapped against the window, filling the silence with its restless rhythm. Finally, she whispered, "I don't want to lose you." It should have been comforting. But it wasn't. Because she still didn't say the one thing I needed to hear. We drifted in uneasy limbo after that. Some nights she stayed in her own bed. Others she slipped back into mine, though she was quieter, more careful, as if afraid of giving herself away. The kisses were rarer, hesitant. And each time she pulled away, it felt like a piece of me went with her. Thanksgiving break loomed like a shadow. She was flying home to New Jersey, and I was staying behind in the empty dorms. The thought of being without her for a whole week made my stomach twist. But maybe space would help. Maybe I'd finally learn how to breathe without her. The night before she left, she came into my bed again. This time she didn't kiss me. She just curled up beside me, resting her head on my chest. "Do you ever wonder," she murmured, "what your life would be like if you weren't you?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean? If you weren't brave enough to be yourself? If you just played the part everyone expected?" I thought about it. About the years I spent hiding, pretending, forcing myself into boxes that never fit. I'd be miserable. She hummed softly, like that answer both comforted and terrified her. "You're lucky," she whispered. I wanted to tell her it wasn't Luke, it was survival. But before I could, she had already drifted into sleep, her breath warm against my skin. When she left the next morning, suitcase in hand, she kissed my cheek at the doorway. It was quick, casual, the kind of kiss friends could get away with. But her eyes lingered on mine just a moment too long. And then she was gone. The dorm was too quiet without her. I buried myself in painting, my canvases filling with messy swirls of color that looked nothing like what I intended. Nights stretched longer. The bed stayed cold. On the fourth day, my phone buzzed with a text. "Madison, I hate it here." My heart leapt. "Me, why?" "Madison, my dad keeps asking about boys. My mom keeps trying to set me up with her friend's son. I feel like I'm suffocating." I stared at the screen, fingers trembling. "Me, you don't have to play their game, you know?" A long pause. "Madison." Easier said than done. Then, after another moment, "Madison, I miss you." The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. I wanted to believe she meant them the way I wanted her to. But I knew better. Still, I typed back. "Me, I miss you too." She came back different. It was in the way she carried herself, shoulders heavier, smile tighter. Something in her had cracked over break, though she wouldn't tell me what. But that night she didn't hesitate. She climbed straight into my bed and kissed me like she'd been starving. I should have stopped her. I should have demanded clarity before giving myself over again. But when her hands framed my face, when her lips pressed desperately to mine, every bit of resolve melted. "Don't leave me," she whispered against my mouth. "I'm not going anywhere," I breathed. And for that night at least it was enough. But reality has a way of creeping back in. The following week, Ethan, the boy she'd mentioned before, started showing up more. He'd wait for her outside class, walk her back to the dorm. She laughed too loudly at his jokes, flipped her hair the way she always did when she wanted to be seen. I told myself it was harmless. A cover. But when I came back one night to find them on our couch, his arms slung casually around her shoulders, something inside me snapped. After he left, I confronted her. "Are you seriously doing this?" Leading him on while we're she cut me off sharply. "While we're what exactly? What are we, huh?" I froze, the words stuck in my throat. She laughed bitterly. "That's what I thought. We're nothing. So don't act like I owe you anything." The cruelty in her tone felt like a slap. I turned away, my chest heaving. "Maybe you don't owe me anything. But I can't keep being your secret." She said nothing. Just sat there silent as I gathered my things and left the room. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. That night I ended up on a bench by the Charles River, the city lights flickering on the water like broken glass. I stayed there until the cold seeped into my bones, until my phone buzzed with missed calls and texts from Madison. But I couldn't bring myself to answer. Because for the first time I realized that loving her might destroy me. The air along the Charles River cut sharp against my skin, but the ache inside me was sharper. Boston nights had a way of making everything feel endless. Light stretched across the water, the hum of traffic a low lullaby, the loneliness heavier than the cold. My phone buzzed again. Madison's name lit up the screen. I almost threw it into the river. But instead I let it ring until it died, until the silence swallowed me whole again. Because what could she possibly say? That she was sorry? That she didn't mean it? That I should keep being her secret while she smiled at boys in the daylight? No, I couldn't hear it again. Not tonight. By the time I dragged myself back to the dorm, it was nearly dawn. I half expected Madison to be asleep or worse, gone. But she was waiting, sitting cross-legged on my bed, her hair a tangled halo around her face, eyes red like she'd been crying. The sight of her nearly undid me. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice raw. I dropped my bag on the floor. "Out." "Out where? Does it matter?" "Yes," she snapped, rising to her feet. It does. I was worried sick. I laughed bitterly. You don't get to be worried about me, Madison. Not when you're busy parading around with Ethan like nothing between us ever happened. Her face crumpled. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I demanded. Because I'm done pretending. I'm done letting you kiss me at night and deny me in the morning. I can't keep being your practice run for something you'll never admit you want. Tears spilled down her cheeks fast and hot. You think I don't want you? Do you? I shot back. Do you even know what you want? The silence was brutal. Finally, she whispered. I want you so much it scares me. The words hit like a punch. I wanted to believe them. God, I wanted to. But fear wasn't enough. Then prove it, I said, my voice shaking. Stop hiding. Stop running. Choose me. Her breath hitched, her hands trembling at her sides. But she said nothing. And that silence was my answer. I grabbed a pillow, a blanket, and walked out the door. For the next week, I slept on the common room couch. It was lumpy, drafty, smelled faintly of stale popcorn, but at least it wasn't laced with Madison's perfume, wasn't haunted by her absence in the bed beside me. She tried at first. Texts, notes slipped under the door, waiting outside the art building after class. I ignored them all. But ignoring her didn't erase her. She was everywhere, in the sound of footsteps in the hallway, in the faint echo of her laugh, in the way my body still ached for her touch. By the third night, I nearly gave in. I almost went back. Almost knocked on our door and begged her to say something, anything that would make this hurt stop. But I didn't. Because part of me knew she wasn't ready. And maybe she never would be. The breaking point came on a Saturday. I'd been curled up on the couch, sketching aimlessly in my notebook when I heard footsteps. Still here. I glanced up to see Ethan standing in the doorway, hands shoved in his jacket pockets. What do you want? I asked flatly. He raised an eyebrow. Just came to check if you were alive. Madison's been worried. Madison tells you everything, doesn't she? I muttered. He shrugged. Not everything. But enough. Something about his calmness, his casual claim on her, made my blood boil. You don't know her like I do. He smirked. Maybe not. But at least she doesn't run away from me. The words sliced deep, deeper than I expected. I stood abruptly, shoving my sketchbook into my bag. Get out. He didn't move. Look, I don't know what's going on between you two. But whatever it is, it's messing her up. She cries over you, you know. My chest tightened. You're lying. He shook his head. I wish I was. But she's torn in half. And honestly, I don't think you're the one who's gonna fix her. I left before he could see me break. That night I ended up back at the river, the city lights flickering like restless ghosts. I wanted to scream, to tear the sky apart with the weight of everything inside me. Instead, I just whispered her name into the wind. Madison. And somewhere deep down I knew I couldn't let her go. Not yet. When I returned to the dorm at dawn, Madison was waiting again. But this time she wasn't crying. This time she looked determined, like a storm finally breaking. I can't lose you, she said the moment I walked in. I dropped my bag, exhausted. Then stopped pushing me away. She crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbing my hands. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be me with you. But I'm trying. Please believe that I'm trying. I searched her eyes, desperate to find the truth there. Then show me, I whispered. She leaned in, kissing me like it was both an apology and a promise. This kiss was different, no vodka, no hesitation. Just her. Raw, trembling, real. When she pulled back, she pressed her forehead to mine. I don't like boys, she said, her voice breaking. I like you. Only you. And for the first time I let myself believe her. The weeks that followed were fragile, tender. We built something new slowly, carefully, like walking across thin ice. She stopped flirting with Ethan. She stopped denying me in the daylight. But she still wasn't ready to tell the world. Some days that was enough. Other days the secrecy gnawed at me. A constant reminder that I was still hidden. Still a shadow in her life. But at night, when she held me close, when she whispered my name like a prayer, I let myself dream that someday she'd be ready. Then came the winter formal. Madison had promised we'd go together just as friends, of course, but it was something. I spent hours getting ready, curling my hair, slipping into a dress that made me feel like someone worth being chosen. But when I walked into the ballroom, she wasn't waiting for me. She was on the dance floor. With Ethan. Her arms looped around his neck, her smile wide and dazzling. And for a moment it was like I didn't exist at all. The world spun. The music blurred. And I realized with brutal clarity that loving Madison might always mean losing myself. I couldn't breathe. The ballroom sparkled with golden lights, laughter ringing like crystal around me, but all I saw was her Madison twirling in Ethan's arms as if she hadn't promised me we'd walk in together. As if the hours I spent curling my hair, steadying my heart, hadn't meant anything at all. She was radiant, laughing in a way that made the whole room turn toward her. And yet every note of that laughter cut me open because it wasn't mine. It was his. I didn't remember walking out, but suddenly I was outside in the freezing air, the Boston night pressing sharp against my bare shoulders. My heels clicked too loudly on the pavement as I stumbled toward the river, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. As I was done. Done being her secret. Done being her midnight comfort and her daylight denial. Done tearing myself apart just to make room for her fear. If she wanted Ethan, she could have him. But she couldn't have me anymore. I didn't hear her at first. The click of her heels chasing after me. The breathless way she called my name. Wait. Please, her hand caught my arm, spinning me around. Don't touch me, I snapped, yanking free. Her face crumpled. It's not what you think. Not what I think. My voice broke too loud against the quiet street. You were in his arms, Madison. Smiling at him, like I don't even exist. Tears welled in her eyes. I only danced with him because I was scared. Scared of what? Loving me? Admitting what we are. My chest heaved, my heart raw and exposed. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being invisible. For once she didn't fight back. She didn't deflect, didn't deny. She just stood there, shaking, her breath fogging in the cold night air. You're right, she whispered. I've been a coward. Her voice cracked, but her gaze held steady on mine. I thought if I kept pretending, if I kept holding on to what people expected, I'd be safe. But every time I kiss you, every time I hold you, I realize I don't want safe. I want you. I've always wanted you. The words hung in the air, fragile and trembling. I wanted to believe them. God, I wanted to. But belief was dangerous. Then prove it, I said, my voice low. Not to me. To yourself. To them. Her shoulders squared, her eyes blazing with a resolve I'd never seen before. Okay. And before I could stop her, she grabbed my hand and dragged me back inside. The ballroom was still alive with music, couples swaying under chandeliers. Heads turned as Madison stormed across the floor, pulling me behind her like an anchor she refused to let go. She climbed onto the small stage where the band played, grabbing the microphone with shaking hands. The chatter dimmed, the music faltered. All eyes were on her. My heart stopped. Hi, she began, her voice trembling. I know this isn't how these things usually go, but I need to say something. A ripple of curiosity swept the room. Ethan, standing at the edge of the crowd, looked confused, his brow furrowed. Madison's gaze flicked to me, then back to the sea of faces. She swallowed hard, gripping the mic tighter. I've spent a long time pretending to be the girl who flirts with guys, who smiles for pictures, who never questions herself. But the truth is, her breath hitched, tears glistening in her eyes. The truth is I'm in love. And not with who everyone expects. The room buzzed, whispers rising. Madison's voice steadied, fierce now. I'm in love with my roommate. With the girl who makes me laugh when I want to cry. Who holds me when I can't hold myself. I'm in love with her. And I don't care who knows anymore. The crowd erupted, gasps, murmurs, a few cheers. My whole body went still, my breath caught somewhere between disbelief and awe. And then she looked at me. Just me. Her hand reached out, trembling but sure. Come here. Every step felt like a lifetime, but somehow my feet carried me across the floor. When I reached her, she dropped the microphone, uncaring as it clattered against the stage. She took my face in her hands, her eyes shining with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. For every time I made you doubt. For every night I hid you in the dark. I'm done hiding. If you'll still have me, I'm yours. The music had stopped. The world had stopped. And then I kissed her. Right there, in front of everyone. The crowd gasped, some clapped, others stared in stunned silence, but none of it mattered. Because her lips were on mine, her hands clutching me like she'd never let go. And for the first time, it wasn't a secret. It was real. When we finally broke apart, both of us breathless, she laughed through her tears. Guess I can't say I only like men anymore. I smiled, my heart soaring. Guess not. The weeks after weren't perfect. People talked. Some whispered behind our backs, some stared, some avoided us altogether. But others smiled, told us we were brave, that we were beautiful together. And Madison held my hand through it all. She faced her parents' disappointment, her friends' confusion, the world's judgment. And she didn't flinch. Not once. At night, she still climbed into my bed. But now it wasn't in secret. It wasn't with shame. It was with love. One evening, as we lay tangled in the sheets, she traced lazy circles on my skin. You know what the wildest part is? She murmured. What? I really did think I only liked guys. My whole life I was so sure. And then you came along and… She shook her head, smiling softly. Turns out I only like you. My chest ached with something too big, too tender to contain. I love you, I whispered. Her smile widened, radiant and real. I love you too. And for the first time since she stumbled into my bed that stormy night, I knew she meant it. Because this wasn't a secret anymore. This was us. Messy, terrifying, breathtakingly real. And finally it was enough. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.